Hey guys, welcome to CawbeerTV, and we're going through our Sepulchral strength deck. This was the first deck I started playing when I played with the new ones. It was the first one I unlocked. It's the one that I'm having possibly the most fun with. It's hard to say. Mindstorms is pretty cool, and so is Grinning Malice. So is Collective Might, to be honest with you, but I enjoy this deck. I would say there is definitely different ways you construct it. So this is definitely not going to be a deck guide as such, because there's definitely two clear ways I can see as constructing this deck. First of all, the very token heavy, sacrifice lots of creatures way, or the second way is very delay, lots and lots of removal, big, and just then hitting in with the big creatures, obviously your Mortivore and this dude as well, Sewer Nemesis. So I ran it that way for a while, and I was having fun with it. It was quite successful, a lot of big creatures coming in, but I've changed to the kind of token base style. So with that in mind, let's go through the deck that I am obviously currently running. So first of all, this deck's weird. This deck, you can get so quickly overrun with mana with this deck because of the way it works, or you can be really struggling with mana. So I've been trying it with the two evolving wilds, basically just because most of the games after turn 4, 5 and 6 I'm starting to get mana flooded. Not that that's a bad thing, I feel that maybe I could push in another creature. It's not gone so well the last couple of games. I've been mana screwed at the start, but anyway. Obviously we run Rancor. It's a 1 cost forest, gives a creature +2 in trample, and it comes back in your hand if it gets removed. So it's just a really cool tricks card. Could possibly run one of them, but I run both. Blood Artist is a really cool card. Just every time a creature dies, you gain 1 life and your opponent loses a life. It can bring you back from the brink of death as your life total then just goes back up as theirs slowly shrinks as you're starting to ping off creatures. Hitting into the removal, the Diabolic Edict, target player sacrifices a creature. I run 2 Go for the Throats. There is, I think, 4 in the deck, but I'm running 2 more removal. Then on our sort of mana ramp cards, the card from 2012's Elf deck, the Vidarian Ephemerate. When he dies, you just put a basic land on the battlefield, so it's a pretty cool card. You can use them for chomp blocking, or just start swinging in and maybe make them block him, so you can maybe ping off a creature, or get him for damage. I do run the Bloodfoe Connoisseur. She is a really cool card, especially if you're playing the token heavy version of this deck, because you can just start killing all of your tokens and she just gets +1/+1 constantly. So you can throw her in front of something, kill off lots of creatures and boost her up to enough power that she's killing that creature as well. And in combination with the Blood Artist as well, you know, you can have maybe 6 tokens on the battlefield, so you kill 6 tokens, making her a 7/7, and also doing 6 damage to your opponent's face and gaining 6 life. It's a really good combination, I really like it. One of our tricks cards, not sure if I should be running this, Consume Strength, -2/2, +2/+2, so you basically can make your boy big, and it's good for blocking, I suppose, or you can just use it as a removal if there's anything that's got 2 in the back that you're not really not really wanting to face, basically. So Golgari's Generation, I love this card. It's obviously just a 3 cost, putting it on the battlefield and you get tokens every time a creature dies. On this deck, the way I'm running it, obviously you want that on, so when you're losing a lot of the creature, especially like these boys that are sackable, you get tokens down for hard to sack as well, so it's just a cool card to have. More removal, Maelstrom Pulse, run the 2 of these because these are good for also getting rid of enhancements and therefore art, so that's why we run them. Pernicious Deed, obviously the big bomb in the deck, you know, having this on the battlefield, you're just basically clearing everything off of it. It's a cool card, and if you're up against tokens as well, you don't even have to tap it, you just destroy it without any power and it kills all tokens off, so it's quite a cool card. Obviously the Troll Ascetic, Hexproof and Regeneration, he's quite a cool card. Sorry about that, there's 3 of them in the deck, but I currently run 2 of them. I like the Hexproof. On to more of our sacking cards, or Eldar, or Gandalf, because I think he looks a bit like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. Anyway, he's one of these ones that he gives you 2 lands every time he basically dies or leaves the battlefield. You can also spend 2 and sacrifice him. I tend to find that you actually end up drawing 3 mana out of that. I very rarely get another card. The amount of times I'll be like, right, sack him, and it's just a mana. And then you're like, well, I don't really need 3 mana now because I've just sacked this dude. So sometimes I use him more of as a chomp blocker and just throw him in front of things. So I'm guaranteed the 2 lands more than spending the 2. It's all very situational, but he's a pretty cool card in the deck, and he comes quite useful later on with some of the bigger creatures as well. Moving on, Consuming Vapors, just another cool removal card. It's a sorcery. Target player has to sacrifice a card. and you gain life equal to that creature's toughness, and it's got rebound, so you're basically getting rid of 2 boys. Or you kill a boy and it prevents him from casting somebody for a turn as well. On to our Liege, our Creekwood Liege. He's obviously the boosters, the +1/+1 for our creatures, and he puts a 1/1 token, black green worm on the battlefield, so if he's still on the battlefield it's a 3/3 every turn. It's kind of cool card. It's a shame it's quite weak for the 4, it's only a 2/2, but it's not too bad. Out of the ones that give the boosts, I'd say he's quite a cool card in the new format. He's quite cheap as well, being 4. More removal and damnation, just destroying creatures. As I said, this is a very removal heavy deck. This is a cool thing, Grave Pack. Anytime one of your creatures dies, the opponent has to sacrifice a creature. Really cool against the Auramancer deck, especially if you've got tokens on the battlefield, because you just start pinging them with whatever, and he has to sacrifice all his creatures, so his hexproof doesn't work as well. I really like that card. It has got 3 swamps, which is a bit annoying, but this is a swamp heavy deck, so it's not as bad as you think. Master of the Wild Hunt, obviously another way of getting tokens on the battlefield. He's a really cool card. If I was running it the creature heavy way, I don't think I'd run him in it. I'd rather other ways, but because this is the token heavy and I want tokens out on the battlefield, we run both of these dudes. Can come on and really just turn the tide of a game quite quickly. Or he can come on and get pinged, which is usually the way it goes, but he's a cool card, so we run both of them because we're token heavy. Oracle of Muldae, or Day. This is just another mana ramp. It's a 4 cost, which is quite expensive for the 2/2, but just the ability to play additional lands each turn can really just, as I said, really mana ramp you up there with and having a lot of power on the battlefield. And if you've got her down and you've got some of the elder guys and you're sacking them and spending the mana because you've got the mana really open, you're drawing a lot of cards out of it. So we run one of them. This card's a debatable asceticism, I think is how you pronounce it. It's quite cool, very good against the burn deck, obviously, because it gives you creatures hexproof and the ability to regenerate creatures for only 2 cost. As I said later on, when you're tons of mana, that's a really cool ability. But it is a 5 cost, so it is one of the debatable ones that comes out. It's probably more useful against maybe Obedient Dead. Well, not so much Obedient Dead, because, well, Obedient Dead have got a lot of removal, but by turn 5, so it's not too bad. It's an interesting card, so we run that just now. The Bellowing Tangleworm, we like this for the Intimidate. I've not really used it. The only time I've ever cast it is when I've already kind of won the game anyway. But I just wanted something a wee bit bigger in there. I mean, there is a bigger creature for better cost, but I just like the Intimidate part. That can be quite scary for the opponent later on. Obviously we have to run our Atomic Slimes. These are the obviously tokens, and when it dies it just splits and splits and splits. Really, really cool card. This card will win you games hands down on its own if you get both of them out, especially with the ability to sacrifice. As I said, with linking things together, linking cards together, you can do a lot of damage. You can basically almost win a game from someone having really high up in health with a Blood Connoisseur, your Blood Artist, and these 2 cards. Moving on to our final 3 cards, our Drooling Gordanion. It's basically, yet again, sacrificing creatures, making this dude making this dude bigger or another creature bigger, and also giving one of his opponent creatures -2/-2, so you can just work your way through your cards and just decimate aside. We're kind of running both of them. I'm not sure about it. I mean, it is a 4/3, but we're kind of running both of them just now, just because this is the token sacrifice heavy deck form that I'm running. So, and one of the best cards in the deck, obviously the Glean Crawler. Just basically anytime a creature dies or is put in the graveyard, if he's on the battlefield, you put that card back in your hand at the end of the turn. So it's just really cool, especially with the sacking of some of the mana ramp guys, or just any kind of cards. They're just coming straight back in your hand, especially this guy. You know, you get one of them down. Sorry. Oh, good God. We get one of the slimes down. Hold on, we're just getting there. There you go, Monotic Slimes, and then he's coming back into your hand to be recast the following turn, and then, you know, possibly sack him again, and he comes again. So that's kind of the way we're running it. Obviously, we'll go to the cards we're not running. The Evolving Wilds, as I said, we're trying to run 2 of them at the moment. I'm not sure how that's going to work. Scut Mob, originally I really liked this card because it's a 1 cost, but yet again it's a bit like, I think it's slightly better than the Dragon Dude in the in the Grinning Malice deck, but not much. It's not it's because of the 5 or more lands you put a counter on it, so later on he can become quite strong, but he's only a 1/1. And if you get him early on, you're kind of, you know, he's just basically a chomp blocker. So we don't run him. There's better cards in the deck we'd rather turn up with. Same as this guy, can save your turn. You know, I've always said about these prevent all damage things. They're kind of cool and sometimes work, but most of the time you're going to be dead the following turn anyway. So that's why we don't run him. This card, Abyssal Gatekeeper, is a nice card, but I find this to be more of a hindrance than what's the word I'm looking for? A bonus. I mean, that's not the right word, but I can't remember what the word is. But the way I look at this is later on, he becomes really annoying if you've got him on your side, because you also have to sack a creature. So you have to be very careful about what you're casting and when you're casting, because you have to also work around this dude. And if you're running both of them and they're both in the battlefield, you know, it's going to make it awkward. It makes it awkward for your opponent to cast, but it also makes it awkward for you to cast. So that's why we don't run them. You can do tricks with them though, but we don't run either of them, so I'm not too fast. This card's okay later on. It's 2 cost enhancement, sacrifice a forest to gain life. We don't run an awful lot of forests, obviously I told you we run 2 go through the throats. Could add another 2 for some serious removal if you want to go removal heavy, but I prefer to have more power with the creatures. I find having all the removal, I wasn't hitting enough creatures. I was controlling the game to a point where it was going really long and I wasn't hitting anything. Our Ravenous Rats, make your opponent discard a card. It's a 1-1. Nah. As I say, we run 1 Consumer Strength. Yeah, the Mind Draw, again, discard. I think if you're running the removal heavy version, and you want obviously these possibly in the deck, if you're going for really late game massive creatures, but I don't run them. We run one of the Trolls. She's okay, the Dryad. Obviously more mana ramp. When she's in the battlefield, you can put a forest card onto the battlefield tapped. So, but she's only a 2-1 for 3. She could possibly make it in, but with this guy giving you, for 3 cost, giving you 2 cards, I preferred running the 3 of them. Another interesting card, Defense of the Heart. If you're playing the big creature heavy version, possibly running this, just because you might not have much creatures on the battlefield, but in this current way, I've always generally got creatures on the battlefield, and turn 4 I don't really want to be casting this. I've seen this card work and not work. It really depends on what you've got in your hand. You need a lot of cards in your hand to be basically drawing the power. I mean, obviously if you sack something big, then you draw a lot of cards and then you can really choose, but with the creature, the token heavy version, most of your creatures are really low power, so this just doesn't work. You're not getting anything out of it. Yeah, again, this guy's more to do with what's in your graveyard, so I see that more to do with the bigger, heavier deck where you're using a lot of removal cards into your graveyard. So, and you might be losing a lot of weird creatures, but we don't run him in this form. Token heavy, they're not going into the graveyard. We run one of these guys. Yeah, again, if I was playing the other version that I think of this, he would be in it because he's big and tough for dead things in your graveyard, and he's a big strong dude. So we don't run him. We run one of these guys already. Yet again, possibly another form she might come in just because she can take away strength and kill things. This guy's in the other style, but I don't run him in this one because this is all to do with bigger, stronger creatures later on. He's only at 5 cost as well, which is great, but having lots of cards in the graveyard, so they kind of link with other cards. Oh, no, don't come in here. This guy as well would be another way. The Spiritmonger, great card, 6 cost, 6/6, 5 cost that has regeneration, can change his colour if he so chooses, and anything he basically deals damage to, you get +1/+1 counter on him. He's a really good card, but I'd run him in the other version of the deck. Same as this guy, creatures down. You could run him in the token 1 because of the basically when a card's put into the graveyard, in the opponent's graveyard, but that's more, I think, as I said, if you're using removal and you're using the discard cards, he would fit more into the other way. This guy could come into this version, but I just don't like the 6 cost with the 3 swamps, because he's about sacking tokens as well, but as I said, don't like the mana cost for him. Obviously the Worm, we know him from Ancient Wilds, good card, but as I said, I don't really want to be running him. I think he's quite an expensive 7 cost with guaranteed needing forest, so I'm not really sure about him. He could come in, I just don't know if he fits in the deck. The Penubrium Worm trample, and when he dies you put another 6/6 black worm token on the battlefield. 7 cost. And then 8 cost, yeah, really cool if you destroy something really big and strong because you can put loads of tokens on the battlefield, but just for the 8 cost it's not worth it, I don't think. As you see, I run very token heavy with a lot of key creatures to mana ramp up and do damage early on and late on. I'm not sure if this is the best way. As I said, this deck's got so many good cards in it. I mean, a lot of the cards I'm not running are still really good cards and could definitely be in the deck. That's why I find it so hard to construct this. It's why I've kind of been doing it 2 different ways. So I'm not sure how you guys are finding this. As I said, I'm still not sure about the mana earlier on, but we'll wait and see how that goes. Post your comments below, let me know what you think of this deck, what cards maybe I should take out, what cards I should maybe put in, and let me know if you think there's 2 clear ways of running it, or do you think there is only really one strong way of running it. Anyway guys, we'll get some games up as well, CawbeerTV. Oh, hold on, before I do that, Auramancer deck, I don't know when we'll get round to doing that. We're still grinding away unlocking the cards. I don't enjoy it, it's not a fun deck to play. and it's not a fun deck to play against, so we will get to it eventually. But right now, these are the 4 ones I'm going to be using. I'm going to try and put hopefully 2 videos up a day, 1 of each deck, and then just kind of chopping and changing. And that's it, guys. Until next time, CawbeerTV signing out.